Welcome everyone, Christine here with a discussion about Terminator Dark Fate Defiance and how to achieve the perfect start for this particular game. The reason you want to achieve a perfect start is you might encounter, as many other people have encountered, a situation where you do handle the early game, but then you realize that because of decisions you made in that early game, that the late game becomes, well, close to impossible. For a variety of reasons. This is not a game with an inverted difficulty curve. This game becomes far harder the more you play. Like early on you have a bunch of leeway, but later on it is going to get fairly difficult. And so the purpose of this particular video is to help you achieve a really good start early on so that you have a very strong late game. Potentially. Though, of course, decisions that you make in the late game are going to be very important. But if you do manage to have a very strong early game, you are going to achieve a great deal of success later on. And I would say it's pretty important on any difficulty. Now, the first things you're going to want to do are related to the first two real missions. Like, there is a prologue mission, but that doesn't matter. So I'm talking here about Rio Grande, the scouting mission there, where it's pretty easy to get out of that without losing a single person. Just follow the instructions really and maybe save, reload a couple of times. You do have 2 quick save slots. Then you have this long base defense mission. Now in this base defense mission there are a couple of ways to minimize your casualties and inflict an enormous number of casualties on Legion. Now you can skip this, you can skip the introductory missions, but it is actually worth playing this mission because you can actually achieve, you can end up with more troops. Specifically, you will always have, like if you skip the introductory missions, you'll have a couple of casualties, but nothing too serious. But what you will have is your drivers. Now drivers are not necessarily too important to get a significant number of them early on, but they can certainly be useful to have all the same. So having some extra drivers that you can get over here if you play this mission well. But how do you minimize casualties here? Well, it's pretty simple. You do have Legion attacking you from 3 directions, and they're always going to spawn here, and they'll spawn constantly from over here on the right side, to the north, and to the left. And you will get a unit of engineers that you will not keep. Now, over here, for instance, I managed to put them in the Abrams as the AI took control of them away from me. But importantly, what I did here is I used those engineers to put anti-tank minefields on the left side and then anti-personnel mines as well. Don't bother with the central point and instead put anti-personnel mines on the right side. And then to go even crazier, put a bunch of anti-tank mines over here on the left side, because if the enemy tanks advance, they're gonna head over here. And then final point over here. You don't want them to get here, because one of the final objectives you'll have in this mission is to blow up the base. It's an optional objective, but it will make the next mission much easier towards the end of it if you do succeed in that respect. And you, by the way, will get the free Abrams in that mission, but it doesn't matter if you blow up the base or not. I'm not sure if it matters if you lose the Abrams or not. I personally have never lost the Abrams. Like, the Abrams is quite capable of destroying everything that's in this mission. Now, one very important thing to minimize losses is you start with this wall of turrets, 4 turrets over here at the beginning of the mission. But once the evacuation starts, the AI that's on your side is going to abandon these turrets and tell you, oh, withdraw over here. Don't do that. Hold these turrets, put your own guys in them. Your infantry should be in turrets in this. Like, hold these 4 turrets, put minefields on the left side, the right side, and also hold these 2 turrets. There's 2 turrets over here. So as long as you hold these turrets for as long as possible, that's going to give you a greater success. But on top of that, you also need to hold the warehouse over here, this particular building. Now, you start with the command squad here, but it's going to be one of the first that leaves the base. What is important over here is you send Calderon, like, once the command squad leaves, and you can also cheese this in one way. But once the command squad leaves over here, you can send Calderon, or you can cheese it the way I did, because there's a command squad in this building as well. These guys are repairing all the vehicles over here, and eventually they'll run out of vehicles. What you can do to cheese it, really, is, like, you can keep, because there is a time. You have like a minute before the building deactivates, so you can just keep moving the command squad between these 2 buildings instead of sending Calderon. You can use, but if you send Cauldron, right, if you don't want to do that, you can send Cauldron over there and have the engineers pilot the tank once, or drive the tank once you place down all your mines. Like, just place the mines as quickly as possible. Once you get the engineers, you won't get them from the very beginning of the mission. Have your infantry and structures. The AI may attack over here, so you might want to put some anti-personnel mines, and then once all that is sorted out, just withdraw over here. Make sure you resupply your units from this particular supply point. Make sure they're full supply. Get this Humvee. It has a minigun, so it's going to be useful. And also make sure you blow up the base over here. That's pretty easy over here for this mission, and you'll end up in a fairly strong position with all the troops that you could possibly get over here. Now, this may not necessarily be viable and realistic. I mean, if you want the easy path, you can always just skip these missions, right? But I've personally managed to do this several times, and, you know, first time I did it, yes, I did take significant casualties, but that's because I lost the turrets. The turrets are the key. The turrets will annihilate Legion. So, like, the fact that they get abandoned so quickly, like the tank, like the Abrams also is good, the Bradley is good. It's all about the Bradleys. You do have multiple Bradleys over here in this mission. You won't have enough drivers for them because you have Cauldron, you have Big Bob, and you have the engineers, which you're ultimately going to lose control before the mission is over. So, yeah, turrets are the key over here, and that's how you minimize losses. Or take no casualties. Like, I've done this mission without losing any single person. Though this mainly applies on normal or medium difficulty or hard difficulty. Realistic, it's a lot harsher than that. Still, it's certainly doable. Save, reload, all that kind of stuff. Now, the second mission that has relevance over here beyond the base defense mission is Abiku. Now, at Abiku, you'll start over here in this particular sector, and you want to move over here towards this stream, this river. You'll meet two guys looting a van. Let them loot the van. Let them be nice to them. Let them take in the truck that they have. And what you want to do once you talk with them, you want to send one of the squads that you have to take the van and repair it. You don't need to care about, like, if you force them to give the van, like, you'll get the van regardless, but if you basically force them to give it up, it will just have more fuel and in a better condition, more or less, from what I understand. It doesn't matter, because you won't keep that van regardless. But what you want to do is you want to send your Humvee in this mission, so you'll have a Humvee, take that Humvee, send the Humvee, send the Javelin team, yes, you will want it, and I went with Javelins, Humvee, Snipers, and Rangers. That was my starting point. Send the Humvee over here to Balzano. Talk with Balzano, and you want to move here very, very quickly. After you just talk to those guys, move towards Balzano. The reason you want to move very quickly over here is if you talk with Balzano, like, he'll give you a mission, and you can ask for help in that. And the two guys you met that were trying to scavenge that van will join up with you, but only if you act nicely towards them. So you'll have two sniper squads, an ATGM squad, and a ranger squad. That's what you need. Okay, once you've talked to Balzano, you want to move over here. There's a technical controlled by the movement that is going to engage Legion troops. Help them out, they'll join you for that later on. There's going to be a couple of Legion troops over here at the beginning, but that's not really too significant. Once you talk with this guy over here, he'll introduce you to the movement, and what you want to do is you want to talk with Kondo. He's going to be right here. Get a bunch of information from him. Crucially, he's going to give you vision over this area. This entire area. The reason this matters is there's a technical with the light gun platform that's over here. Now, there's a vehicle here. Your ATGM team, your Javelin team, can destroy it, but they need vision. That's why you want to talk with the Kondo, get a bunch of information, get all the information from Kondo, destroy that vehicle with your ATGM team, and use your Humvee and Rangers and Snipers to take out all the Legion ground forces. There might be a spider robot as well that your ATGM might want to deal with. Destroy those two vehicles regardless. Pick up the technical, pick up the light gun platform. Don't ever engage in a direct fight with technicals. They're not going to survive any damage from any type of unit. Like, technicals are meant to move troops around. Like, they're not combat units. Like, they're pretty bad. Like, Humvees can withstand a good amount of damage. Technicals will just collapse very quickly, even with armor. So they're pretty useless. But you do want them, if only to sell them. And also in the initial mission, just to move stuff around. So eventually, though, like, once you've dealt with that, once you've got that technical, that light platform, there's also a truck here. Make sure you pick that tractor. Like, that tractor is actually the most damn important thing you can pick up over here. I'm not joking on that. Make sure you pick it up. Make sure you pick up pretty much every vehicle that you can for which you have units. But regardless, once that's done, you talk with the elder over here in this area, and he'll tell you how there's a bunch of people willing to fight, but he needs weapons from. Take the van that the guys were scavenging early on, just after repair it. Take the van, give it to the weapons merchant, the arms merchant, sell the van for weapons. After you talk with the elder, you'll get a bunch of squads over here. Also talk at the church with the pastor, because he's going to join you as a heavy weapons team, a heavy weapons squad, and that way you'll get a bunch of vehicles. After that, deal with the Legion base over here in the south. Talk with the movement, tell them to deal with the Legion base, or you can try and destroy Balzano. I personally have always done it so that I destroy the Legion base with the movement, though you don't need the support of the movement. And once you destroy the Legion base over here, you'll meet a villager who will tell her her brother is a mechanic here. Talk with the mechanic, and if you have information from Kondo, and after saving his sister, he'll give you a striker. Once you do that, about this point, Legion will start launching its offensive. Balzano will leave, the movement commander will leave, but if you help the movement destroy the Legion base or help them against Balzano, the movement units will join you. I think it's better to destroy the Legion base. The Legion base here has 2 spider robots, that's the only danger, and your sniper can deal with the infantry. Try and minimize movement casualties as much as you can. Now, Kondo has a particular plan, listen to him. What you want to do is come over here with your entire army, basically, and wait until Kondo gives you the go-ahead to attack the Legion units. Attack the Legion units, destroy a number of them, Kondo's plan will work, and what will happen is that right about here in this parking lot, Kondo will hack some Legion robots, specifically a Legion tank and some spider robots. You'll want, and then he'll join your team as a sniper with another guy, and they'll have laser snipers, they'll have EMP, and he'll also have a bunch of civilians. Evacuate Kondo for the south, send your Humvee and Striker to pick up the civilians in Kondo, retake this particular point. The movement shows up with a massive army and crucially artillery platforms that won't be under your control. You fight them out. The Abrams that you had in the previous mission is going to show up here without any fuel, without any ammo. You do have a fuel station trailer over here. You also have this EMTT. Make sure you pick up the EMTT. Balzano will leave once the Legion starts attacking. Pick up the Bradley, pick up the EMTT over here. There's also an APC and a Humvee. Make sure you pick them up. There's mines here, but the Bradley can walk over them without taking too much damage. There's also going to be some of Balzano's guys showing up. You can move the movement artillery pieces right here. Make sure you just move them over here so they can help you out against Balzano's goons that will show up after the entire fight. Like, worry about all of this once the movement defeats Legion. You'll get your drivers. Don't bring Calderon or Big Bob. Make sure you keep them alive. Don't bring them initially. Take the Abrams with Calderon. Take the Bradley with Big Bob. Take as many vehicles as you possibly can. If the movement gets any of their crews leaving their vehicles, which may happen because when vehicles catch on fire, crews will evacuate, and that's an opportunity to steal them. Make sure you take as much as possible. Take tractors, take supply vehicles, take pretty much everything that you can in this particular mission because it will work very, very well. And you'll end up with a significant army. Most important things, Bradley and Abrams. Like, if you can't get off this map with the Abrams, don't even bother playing the game beyond this point. Like, the Abrams is like the most important thing that you have. Like, forget the Bradley, you can get more, but Abrams, you'll be playing for half the freaking game before you get an opportunity to get anything comparable to the sheer firepower that the Abrams has. And that's how you play this mission. There's a more detailed guide written out there, but yeah, that's just the gist of it. So base defense, keeping everyone alive. This one, the first real mission, even if you skip the intro, you want to get as many technicals, as many vans, as many trucks. By the way, the reason you want to race these guys that are in a truck to Balzano's base is when they join you, they'll join you in the truck if you've raced them with your Humvee. So you will get the truck as well. That's useful because then you can sell that truck. Yes, one of the key elements in this game is how you screw your AI partners to take as many of their vehicles as possible. You might deliberately damage allied vehicles in certain missions just to take them for yourself, if you're interested in that. Okay, if you've done all of this as I said, you'll end up with an army like this: several trucks, 2 Humvees, technicals, a HMTT fuel tanker, supply trailers as well. I didn't get the fuel trailer, but unfortunately, I probably should have. After this, repair, but don't refuel or resupply vehicles until you've gotten to the movement support base. Also, just talk with the elder over here to get more people to join you, though you won't necessarily need them all that much. You can get rid of them, but really, what you want to do here is you don't need more than 1 supply trailer. Only very, very late on in the game will you need more than 1 supply vehicle, at least of this kind of size with 10,000. You can get some with 6,000, so what I'm going to do, so what I'd recommend you do after the first mission is like sell virtually every single freaking technical, keep the Humvees, sell every technical, make sure you remove the weapons on them. You may also get multiple platforms on them. Like, make sure you sell pretty much everything. Like, I would keep 1 light platform, possibly over here, just 1. And sell like the vans, the technicals. They're not worth keeping around. Keep the Humvees. Like, you want basically 4 Humvees. Anything more, 4 or 5 Humvees, anything more is useless. And in terms of light vehicles like technicals and vans, don't bother with that. Don't even bother with regular trucks. Though you can resupply infantry in those. Also, the APCs, they're decent enough, they're durable enough, but they consume a significant amount of supply. And you just want to sell all of this. And another thing you want to do is you want to get the survivalist trait to reduce supply consumption on all your units. It's available for the Foundry unit, so get survivalist on pretty much all of these guys. Maybe not drivers, you might want to get best gunner, though drivers do consume 600 supply, so just keep them in mind. With javelins, you may want to get power lifter first off, and then survivalist. You can get anti-air with these guys, but you don't need it early on, really. Just get power lifter with your ATGM squads, and yes, sell a lot of these vehicles, and you should be left with an army like this. Now, what you want to do after this is you want to use all those goodwill points that you just picked up. And you may want to get rid of the militia squads that you're getting here as well. Because the militia squads, like every movement unit, is pretty good, except militia squads. And then you want to go to Teos. Though, first off, I may need to put the vehicle right there. Okay. So your army should look something like this. 1 striker, 1 Bradley. And then she'll ask you if you're leaving. Okay. And they'll ask you, it's always worth talking with people, getting information. This will become relevant later on. What you want to pick up over here in this particular base are a couple of things. 1, you want to pick up, you want to make this an artillery platform. You will get plenty of them later on, you'll get 2 of these in the next mission, but that's not really what you're after. What you want here is you want the ATGM launcher for the Bradley. You want the artillery platform over here, and as many supplies as you possibly can. Like, just buy all their supplies for, like, this is what you want to do with goodwill points. You can buy another Bradley if you want to, but just keep in mind you won't have another ATGM launcher. Don't upgrade anything else. Like, don't upgrade steel armor on these or anything like that. You may also want to pick up a 50 cal sniper rifle. Though keep in mind, condo is condo. And just don't, like, I would recommend not stacking all the sniper rifles on your squads. And it's really about the ATGM and the artillery. Though you can skip this if you don't want to pay the 1 day of their supply over here to get to Teos, because you can come back here later on. And then you resupply. You'll spend some days, spend whatever supplies you have. Keep in mind, supplies will replenish over here. So we got 4 days of supplies over here, and I could get even more if I was willing to. You can get a grenade launcher if you want. For that, equip various units with various guns, like for instance, RPG squads, all that kind of stuff, if you want to. Initially, though, I would just get survivalist on as many people as possible, and powerlifter for ATGM squads, and not bother with any other upgrade early on. Maybe get the grenade launcher for one of the Humvees. To keep in mind, you're not going to keep your initial Humvees. Like, you will want to replace them. That's the reason I don't want to upgrade them. You can get carbon armor for strikers, though not necessarily the most important thing in the world. Still, regardless, this is the kind of team you can have. And then you move on to the Santa Fe mission. So what you do is you want to move towards Albuquerque. You've got, like over here, I've got 4 days of supplies. I can even boost this up over here. Get closer and closer to 5. I could even sell this, right? For instance, I could sell this for 2,000 points, because you are going to get plenty of supplies later on. But I probably recommend having one supply trailer early on. Okay, and out on the road towards Albuquerque, you will meet movement patrol, and they'll tell you, oh, just they destroyed the bridge, so take this road, and you will be able to get there basically in 2 days as opposed to free, as the game originally tells you. Okay, so you would get there in free, but regardless, at this point, when you click this, you'll be entering the Santa Fe mission. Let me talk about that mission, because that is the last of the most important missions in this game that dictates the rest of your campaign. At Santa Fe, this is the kind of situation you'll be confronted. You'll start over here, and you'll be tasked with dealing with Legion convoys that are going to come from over here and from this point. And they'll try and reach this point to reach the battle that's raging between the movement and Legion and Albuquerque. Now, you have several objectives over here. One, you have to hold this particular location. And the reason you have to hold this is because the movement will send you reinforcements. Specifically, they will send you these light platforms, which are artillery platforms. So light platforms with artillery, heavy platform with artillery. And then once the mission is over, they'll abandon all of these platforms, so you can take all of these platforms, including a regular, and you'll also get a regular heavy platform without artillery, so that has a 120mm gun on it. You'll get all of this stuff, so you'll get 2 light artillery platforms, or 3 even, and 2 heavy artillery platforms. Now, you have to do 2 things at the same time. One, I would recommend you put both your javelin teams over here in this central building. Maybe put a RPG squad in this building, or heavy weapon team. The reason you want to put a squad, just one squad, and you might want to move them out, is because the Legion convoys moving from here will target this building, and you want them to target this building as opposed to this one. They'll also attack from both the west and the east. They'll have some artillery that will spawn at one point, and an anti-air unit that will spawn at one point. You can get air support over here that technicians can actually use, and you might want to use them. Like, technicians are the ones driving the vehicles, like, so you may want to use, or mechanics, whatever, you may want to use them. Like, basically, the first convoy will be dealt by air support, but then the air support will be shot down. You recover the pilot, he'll be in the desert. Just send a Humvee, keep one vehicle, a couple of technicals over here maybe. You'll get plenty of vehicles for free. You'll get plenty of technicals and vans over here for free in this mission, as the movement will basically join you. And send one to pick up the pilot, send them over here. You'll get air support, call in air support. The speed at which the plane arrives depends on the direction it's coming from. Regardless, though, do some testing with that once you get it. And you want to send Calderon, you want to send Big Bob. Like, you don't want to keep your vehicles in the north. You want to send them over here, but avoid this point. There's an integrator settlement there. And if you enter it, they'll become hostile. They'll also offer you a mission. I'll talk about that. That's the last thing you want to bother with, by the way, in this mission. What you want to do is you want to send as much infantry as you can spare. Like, I would leave 1 ranger unit, 1 infantry unit, a couple of snipers over here, RPG teams, all that, and send the rest, especially the reinforcements you're going to get, send them over here. Like, I send Kondo, I send snipers, take the prison complex. When you're dealing with these kind of things, remember, you can capture that building with this command. Rangers are good at it, regular infantry are good at it. Obviously, snipers are not particularly great at it. Hold them off. hit them from the side, especially Legion tanks. Calderon will win against Legion tanks, but only if she hits them from the side or the back. So try and ambush them. Make sure to resupply Calderon. One single supply vehicle that you start with, a single supply trailer, can keep your javelin supply for the entire mission. You'll get more of them in the south, so Calderon can be resupplied over here in the south by another supply trailer. You'll get part of reinforcement. You'll have plenty of fuel station trailers. That's why you don't bother with fuel vehicles. Though you should probably pick the one up in Abiq. I screwed that up over here. Yeah, mistakes happen. Regardless, pick up. Deal with the Legion convoys coming here. You can use airstrikes. The most dangerous things are the Legion tanks. Depending on the difficulty, you may have more or less of those. It's kind of tricky. Make sure to use smoke as well, like smoke from Rangers. You can really screw over their targeting. But keep in mind, if you're trying to hit a unit, like this is one of the reasons why having a unit here is good, because they'll shoot at them. So if you pop smoke, if you have another unit popping smoke over here, you can really reduce the damage this unit is taking, while your javelins may still be able to hit them. Just bear in mind with smoke that it does affect javelin targeting, like missile targeting in general. It gets affected the most by it, which is a bit ridiculous if you know anything about javelins, but still all the same. Regardless, take the prison complex. You'll be attacked from the west, primarily in the prison complex, maybe a bit in the north. There's a bunch of Terminators over here. Deal with that. Once the mission is complete, you go clear out the prison complex from the prisoners. You capture the objective that the integrators want. I'd recommend selling it. It's a trophy system for tanks, but you don't need it on Calderon early on. And you can buy it later. Like, they'll give you 35,000 goodwill points. You can buy it later for 1,500 if you do certain things in a certain way. So just bear that in mind. Bear that particular aspect in mind, and so you will certainly be able to get that. So don't worry about it. And you don't necessarily need it. I have played an entire campaign without it. I forgot to buy it. That's the thing. I forgot to buy it when I had the opportunity. Screw up on my part, or I screw it up in some way. But you will be able to buy it if you sell it to them here. You'll be able to buy it later for cheaper, and importantly, if you sell it to the integrators here, you'll improve relations with them, and their stocks will improve. So you'll be able to get better equipment from their stores. You want good relations with the integrators. That's worth doing early on in the game. That doesn't mean you give the integrators everything, no. But you just want to build those better relations with them early on in a campaign. And that's really the missions, how you play them. Like, just hold this position with javelins in various teams, and then send your vehicles, as many of them as you can spare, vehicles, rangers, heavy weapon team snipers, to take this point. The reason you want to take these points is to get movement to fortify these positions with platforms that you can then take after the mission. Let me show you how that will look, because, like, yeah, you can get access to all of them. So after you fight Santa Fe, you'll be able to continue on to Albuquerque, and this is what I'll have. By the way, there's a dozer on that map. It's in the east. I forgot to mention it. There's also a truck in the east, so make sure you pick that up. Pick up as much stuff as you can. You probably won't be able to pick up everything, so I would recommend prioritizing the heavy weapons platform versus anything else. And just pick up stuff that you're going to sell. So you get to Albuquerque, you have a conversation with Jessica Kidd. You talk with Jessica Kidd, and then you get a bunch of supplies. Choose the supplies, not the goodwill credits. You have plenty of those. You want to have enough. You want to buy supplies from the store, but you also want there to be enough supply in the store, right? So if you pick up all those credits, you'll just use them all up anyway on supply. And yeah, sell a bunch of the stuff that you don't need over here. Don't bother with the armor carrier trailer, that's useless. Don't bother with the dozer, you don't need it. The fuel station trailer, kind of, but you don't need it either. You'll get plenty of that later on. And the light platforms that don't have any guns in them, and all the technicals and all that, just sell them, like all of them. Like, I would keep maybe free artillery platforms, light platforms, or 2 even. So sell the truck, sell technicals, they'll keep the minigun. Like, if there's any minigun or grenade launcher, just keep that, sell everything else. You don't need technicals. Technicals are a waste of time. They break down very quickly. They're cheap, to be certain. They're cheap, but they're just not freaking worth it. And also, when it comes to squads, like, I would have no more than 3 RPG teams. So yeah, right here I do have an enormous amount of them. I will not have more than 3 RPG teams. Take the guns that you want to keep, and then yeah. So like this one here, for instance, 3 RPG teams, no militia, don't bother with militia, they're just a waste of time, money. Like they can't they can't use any heavy weaponry, so, and also make sure, yeah, you do something like this, like you take out the various teams, like you make sure your vehicles are controlled by drivers. And yeah, replenish over here. Repair. Repair and sell this one. So 3 RPG teams, though make sure you pick up the good RPGs. You may also want to put these SMAs rockets as opposed to RPG 7s. I do have a tendency where I prefer to just sell that one as well. If you keep every squad alive, this is the kind of situation you'll be dealing with. So get rid of the vans, get rid of the technicals. You might want to keep some of the guns they have, but outside of that, like, just get rid of all of these things as quickly as possible. And also keep only 2 of the heavy weapon platforms with artillery. So sell the one that doesn't have artillery and put drivers and technicians in them. If you want to level up technicians, and you should, the best thing you can do is put them on artillery, because artillery will do a significant amount of damage. The reason you want to level up technicians is they can drive tanks, and quite crucially, they can fly helicopters. That's kind of an important factor because you can, and you should, get the helicopter. The reason you want to get the helicopter quickly is because the helicopter will give you scouting capability. So over here I have 3 artillery platforms, so I'm going to sell the one with the minigun, and just sell it with the minigun because the minigun is not going to give me anything special. So you can see over here how much supplies I have over here. So that's 8 days of supplies. That's a lot. That will keep me going for a long time. I still have 4 platforms, so I'm just going to sell another one. I'm going to sell the dozer as well. The reason I'm going to sell the dozer and also these 2 militia squads, they're just not worth keeping around, and you will have better infantry later on. You might keep some militia squads for the first mission, though it's not necessarily worth it. But yeah, just make sure you keep some of these light platforms, because there's plenty of missions. The reason I want to keep them is there's plenty of missions in the game where you can bring eventually the heavy guns, the heavy artillery, but early on, you may not get that particular luxury. So that's one of the things you gotta keep in mind over here. And yeah, try and get survivalists for as many of these. Now, drivers are useful because they can get best gunner. So striker drivers and Humvees should be driven because they got the best gunner ability. Though you shouldn't necessarily prioritize getting that at every opportunity. Okay, and there we go. And yeah, just sell another freaking technical. So you can see that I have 8,000 points over here. Now, what you want to do here, though it's not strictly necessary, you can give her fuel. The reason you want to give her fuel is you can then travel to Teos. Let me see. You don't necessarily need to use technicals. There we go. We can use that to drive the artillery. And we go to Teos. Like, basically she's asking for supplies so she can open the road. And what they'll offer you once you do this, what's quite important over here, like, they'll sell you a Bradley, but most importantly, they'll sell you striker carbon armor, which is going to increase the survivability of every striker that you have by quite a bit. Most crucially, they'll sell you twin light plasma cannons, which, yeah, put that on Cauldron. It's not the best against armor, but you want to buy all of this stuff, like literally all of it. And then also, not that one, no, yeah, no, the explosive reactive armor on the Bradley. And while this is obviously going to cost some supplies that you could, use in other ways, the important thing is you've got the super powerful Bradley. You could get the second one if you really wanted to, with light plasma cannon. Whenever you eventually you will need this, but like the twin light plasma cannon is like really good for Cauldron early on. Don't bother with any upgrades. Maybe get an ATGM launcher for another Bradley, and maybe even get just get that early on, because you will get a Bradley long before you'll get another Bradley, or you can get another Bradley right now if you want to. Though keep in mind it won't have the best armor, and you'll get plenty of Bradleys later on, so don't worry too much about that. Like, you can buy a second Bradley later on, and you don't need it for what you're going to be dealing with right here. Any squads that you don't use, you can always disband just to reduce the supply burden. So for instance, these guys, just don't need them because, just don't need them. I would keep some drivers, though not necessarily too many. So yeah, just gonna disband these guys. You can obviously, just figure out how many of these guys you're gonna use. You can obviously upgrade them, but yeah, you may end up with many of them, and there we go. 8 days of supply. Could even get all the way to 9. Sell a bunch of stuff right over here. Sell a bunch of stuff right here, and you'll end up in a pretty strong position. And that's really all there is to it for a really strong start to the campaign. With 8 days of supplies, you can get to New Tortuga, have 2 days extra, and you can buy more supplies later on if you want to. That would be a key. Though, yeah, you can also sell all of these technicians that you're not using over here. In this case, you will get plenty of squads. So, technicians, a good amount of them is useful, but the ones that you're not using, just don't bother with them, because they're not necessarily worth keeping around. And same with drivers. That's all. Go see and sign out. Stay tuned for more.